City officials in Tampa Bay have broke their silence in the last 24 hours, and in their words, it's most likely they're going to pull the plug on WrestleMania this year. I'm not shocked at all. I've already made a couple of videos on this channel alone on how I felt that they wanted to pull the plug on this event this past Wednesday at their big meeting. I think the city of Tampa Bay wanted to cancel WrestleMania this past Wednesday, but they allowed Vince McMahon a 7-day grace period to make the decision himself. They allowed Vince McMahon to save face. They allowed Vince McMahon to make, in their eyes, what is the right decision. While every other sport is canceling events, there was one dude, one company, that was refusing. You had to have known that was going to be the old man in Stamford, Connecticut. But the city of Tampa Bay allowed him 7 extra days when they said they will then revisit the topic, meeting next Wednesday. But they only said we'll revisit this in 7 days because they honestly thought Vince would make the right decision and cancel. But here we are on Saturday morning and he has yet to do such. You had to have known if there's money on the line. The old man in Stamford doesn't give a shit what's going on in the world. What human beings are being affected. If his wallet, if his bank account is being affected, he's not backing down. He's not canceling shit. Clearly, they don't know who they're dealing with. This isn't some average Joe Schmo. This is one of the most greediest bastards I've ever seen in my lifetime. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So if they thought he was just going to cancel and not put up the biggest, darndest fight we've ever seen, they had another thing coming. And I think after Wednesday's meeting, they were expecting Vince that night to say, you know what, this is too much. Everyone else is canceling. NBA's canceling games. NCAA, NASCAR's going out. MLB is canceling or at least postponing their opening day for weeks. They were expecting Vince to say, all right, that's it. But Wednesday night, he didn't do that. Thursday came around. He didn't do that. Friday came around. Nothing. So finally, city officials now are saying, listen, if WWE doesn't make the call, we're most likely pulling the plug. They're tipping their hand already. They said they're going to revisit it next week. They're already telling you their decision. It's being canceled. You can call it postponed, right? But if it's held a month from now, 2 months from now, then it's not the same show. It takes on a whole different identity. It's no longer in Tampa. The Heartbeat, which is Europe, is no longer there in attendance, which makes it feel like a WrestleMania. Nothing is the same. The event is canceled. You can call it rescheduled. You can call it postponed. But this isn't a Broadway show. This isn't just a baseball game, right? This was WrestleMania. You postponed WrestleMania. You canceled it. And that's what is going to happen. I told you guys that from day one. And now city officials are indeed saying, that's it. We're pulling the plug. They're giving Vince a chance here, though, to at least act like he gives a shit, right? And again, whether you think this is all mass hysteria or this is justified, all the panic, all the fear, what's going on, that's beside the point. That no longer matters. The point is that every other sport is at least showing that, hey, public safety is number one. Where there's one dude, just one, who has refused in the world to cancel one of the biggest events of the year. Tens of thousands of people. When it's all said and done with all the other functions, over 100,000 people will congregate to this one area. And this dude is like, I ain't losing no fucking money. I don't care how serious this can become. I'm not taking a hit financially. Well, the city is eventually, and I mean like within the next few days, they're going to pull the rug out from underneath you. You're going to have to take the hit in your bank account, Vince. If you didn't spend all this hundreds of millions of dollars on this stupid XFL idea, then maybe you'd have enough money in your bank to say, hey, we can cut our losses. And by the way, you've already postponed or canceled the rest of the XFL season. Why not the WWE? Oh, because you know WrestleMania was your bread and butter. That's how you were going to take a chunk of that and put it right back into the XFL, because you sure as hell weren't going to reinvest into WWE. You don't give a shit about that product anymore. You haven't for years. Ever since you came up with the whack-bone job idea to get the XFL going again, you stopped caring about the WWE. All the money that you were making in WWE, you were putting it right into XFL. You were even cashing in your own stocks and putting that money into the XFL. You have your own boardroom meeting members. Your own board members are suing you because they think you've been doing some shady, underhanded shit, taking money from WWE and putting it into the XFL. Your own board members. Not just the dude on YouTube, not just the dude with a podcast is saying this. Your own board members are saying you're doing shady shit and not giving a shit about the WWE, instead focusing all your time, attention, and money into XFL. And you're breaching your own commitments with your board. But this dude refuses. I would not doubt at all, if this comes down to the last second, literally down to the wire, I would not doubt at all that when it's all said and done, Vince McMahon has to have the city of Tampa Bay make the decision for him. Because he doesn't want to lose a fucking dime. He will go down literally to the death. Or I also wouldn't be shocked to find out that the moment McMahon found out that the city of Tampa was definitely canceling, that he tried to beat them to the punch, try to save face at the last second, and say that WWE, over the concern for public safety, is backing out of this year's WrestleMania. And it's for all of our own good. But I wouldn't doubt at all that this is going to come down to the final seconds. Either he's going to find out their final decision and try to beat him to the punch, or he's going to make them do it and not him. But it's one or the other. Because that's how this old man does business. I knew when this whole thing began and everybody was canceling shit, I knew there was going to be one person left at the end. You want to look at that as pretty badass, right? He's not giving in to the hysteria. He's not giving in without a fight. He's going down to the death. He's going down in a blaze of glory, right? Normally, this is like a heroic showing. But when it's him, when it's the old man, when it's Vincent Kennedy, and you know his track record and history, and you know it's all just about the money, you can't look at that as a heroic feat. You know, you just look at just an asshole, literally, not just in storyline. You look at a greedy son of a bitch that is willing to do anything and everything to anybody to get financial gain. That's what's sad. Smackdown. March 13th, 2020. Where do we begin, right? You think about WrestleMania, and what is the contingency plan that McMahon claims he has? Are they going to just divide up WrestleMania and put half on Raw and half on SmackDown and just try to get a bunch of ratings? Maybe cut their losses, try to get ratings? Are they going to host WrestleMania at the Performance Center? Nobody really knows. But when you talk the Performance Center, that's where SmackDown aired last night in front of no audience. 0 fans were in attendance. It was weird. It was odd. Very eerie. When you thought about this is how far we've come, or lack thereof, in the world today. When this whole thing first started many months ago, this is what it's come to. That these wrestlers and this show is being put out there and performed in front of nobody. It was sad. It was depressing. You felt so much, right? I can't remember a show that was this eerie, that was this odd, that had so much emotion, so much sadness behind it. I can't think of ever a show that had this type of feeling. There were some that were like it or in the realm, but this one had a different feel, right? There was the post Owen Hart's death episode. I believe that was Raw. And that was obviously weird and eerie in its own right. There was the Chris Benoit episode that was odd and eerie in its own right. There was the post 9/11 show. So there were shows that were absolutely full of such emotion and such eeriness, but this one had just a different feel when you knew what the whole world was going through. You know? Every one of those shows that I just aforementioned, they each brought on a different feel of emotions. This one had a separate one for me. They were along the lines of the Owen Hart, the Chris Benoit, and the 9/11 shows, but they just had a different set of emotions behind them as well. I just couldn't wrap my head around what we were seeing. But I always said that WWE is their best when they just are themselves. When they overly produce their product, when they overly script their product, that is when they are at their worst, which is what they've done more than ever in the last several years. But we've seen WWE and their superstars at their best when they are forced, last minute, to change up their plans. Not erratic decisions like McMahon, but forced under circumstances that are beyond their control. When they have to change things up last second, usually those shows are pretty good, pretty badass, because they're just being themselves. They're just going out there. Nothing is overly produced. Nothing is overly scripted. They're just calling it on the fly, is what we call it in the business. You guys remember when they were stuck in Saudi Arabia just last year, and NXT had to be the big presence on SmackDown. Everybody thought that the wheels were going to go right off the track, right? No, that ended up being one of, if not the best SmackDown of the year. And it was circumstances beyond their control. They had to change things up last second. They called things on the fly. Of course, there was a loose sheet, right? There was a tentative plan that they put in place, but trust me, everything was being called on the fly. They didn't really know what was going to connect or work. But they tried it. It's one of the best ever. Last night, you would think, because it was so odd and so weird and so eerie and just strange, and it was changed up last minute, just a couple of days really, that they really were putting this in place just in case, and then in the last 24 hours, they were like, no, we have to do this, so they sent out the press release. So they had a loose sheet of what they were going to put out there. But everything you saw with Triple H and Michael Cole and just trying anything they could possibly do to entertain people, this was being called on the fly. But it worked. You know, it was must-see TV, kind of like when NXT had to go out there for SmackDown when everybody was trapped over there in Saudi Arabia. You know, you had to see what they were going to do next because this was also surreal, is the word I'll use. This was surreal. They went out there and tried to do some matches. I can't say they were anything close to what they would be in front of a crowd. I can't say that there was a level of excitement behind it. No. I mean, the matches were probably the oddest part of the night when you saw no crowd there. But they tried to do some promos, which one of them was just awesome, man. I think because they didn't have a crowd in attendance, I think the Bray Wyatt and John Cena promo was that much better. So in a weird way, in a twist of fate, if you will, no pun intended to the Hardys, but in a twist of fate, I think not having the audience there really helped out that Bray Wyatt John Cena promo, which would have been good in front of an audience, but without it, meant that much more. But then you saw just the interaction between Cole and Triple H and just H being out there. Triple H was like everybody's father, right? Everybody in the world is going through this panic, and Triple H is out there like, relax, we got this, we're going to entertain you for a while. Or at least I'm going to try. I don't know what the hell I'm doing out here, but I'm going to try. And he's having fun with Cole. And it just made for just interesting TV. For better or worse, it was must-see. And again, I just think they're best when they're just themselves. You know, I think when things are not overly produced and overly scripted, when they just relax and remember what they can do, because that company has the assets, has the talent, has the capability to be something amazing every single week, every single show. Let's not forget that. They suck almost every show because of their own validity, on their own actions, on their own decisions. But that doesn't mean they can't be great. We've seen it in the past. They just gave up. They just stopped caring. They got so big as a company that everything became micromanaged. Last night, you just saw them kind of off their rocker. The train was off the track. But it's okay sometimes to be yourselves. It's okay to let your guard down. And that's what they did last night. They basically admitted on 10 different occasions they don't really know what the fuck they're doing. But they just wanted to be there and just try to entertain. But they don't know what they're doing. This is going to be a clusterfuck. They told you that 10 different times in so many different ways. The show itself. Let's get right to it, right? Triple H opens the show inside the Performance Center with a very serious tone, informing us all, basically, that due to the circumstances, situations, and events around the globe, tonight's SmackDown will be taking place right there inside the Performance Center with no crowd in attendance. A completely empty Performance Center in terms of fans. Triple H says try and sit back, relax, and try to forget about all that's going on around the world and let us do what we do, entertain you. Again, he was like the godfather of everyone, right? Where everyone's panicking, there's Triple H saying, listen, I'm right here for you. We're here for you. And I'm not just sending people out there as the King Tut boss. No, I'm showing you that I'm willing to even be out here and be with you guys. To show you guys that the world's not crumbling. The world's not ending. We're here. I don't know. I like that. I know he's reassuring so many, by him being out there. I think it meant something to him. And I think for a lot of fans, it was really cool to see him the first thing on SmackDown last night. And informing everyone of what was going on, why they're in the Performance Center, why there's no crowd. And his mission statement, basically. WWE's mission statement. We want to put smiles on people's faces. Well, you can start by listening to your fans. The smart ones, anyway. Not just the sheep that'll fucking buy into everything you're putting out there. Ones that like logic and common sense. Ones that like larger-than-life superstars and storylines that mean something. Feuds that we actually want to see culminate in a big pay-per-view match. Oh, just the simplistics, the basics, the fundamentals of wrestling. We'd like that, then we'll have smiles. But anyway, I like the fact that Triple H opened this thing off. Sasha Banks and Bayley head to the ring. They cut a promo as if they were in front of 10,000 fans. Of course, they weren't, but I love what Sasha was doing. She was trying to hype up the entire crowd when nobody was there. I mean, that is true heel fashion, and it's those little things that a heel can do to get some of that heel heat. Of course, there was no heat to get in that crowd, but I love that, She's hyping up a non-existent crowd. Such an asshole! So awesome! They want Paige, right? They grab a mic, and again, they were cutting a promo as if they were in front of 10,000 people, and they keep saying that they want Paige. They even went to Michael Cole, and again, Triple H is on commentary at this point with Michael Cole, and they're demanding Paige. Because, of course, Paige said that she had a surprise or something for this Friday's SmackDown. That's when it was originally supposed to be in Detroit. And we expected that to be Nia Jax. Nia Jax was eventually going to take the championship from Bayley at WrestleMania, or at least that's what we believed was going to happen. However, because they were in the Performance Center, everything was changed. They left Nia Jax off TV, obviously, and they came up with the excuse that Paige had travel issues. So Paige wasn't in attendance. Instead, they got Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. They cut a little bit of a back and forth on each other. And Bayley cuts a line. Alexa and Nikki were kind of alluding to a match between them and Bayley and Sasha. And Bayley says, and I quote, I love this line, "You just made a big mistake, you little idiot." I love the way she delivered it. "You just made a big mistake, you little idiot." I love that, man. And then we cut into a tag team match. Bayley and Sasha, Alexa and Nikki. Again, I can't state this enough. I can't overemphasize this enough. Triple H, again, was on commentary, but I can't say this enough. Listen, this match, this situation, the visuals, the thought of how we got to this point, it was all so surreal. They're having this match, and I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, this is surreal. It's the only word that could come to mind. I was going through every emotion, man. I kept looking to the back and seeing no crowd. I kept thinking about what Cole and Triple H must have been thinking at that moment. I mean, they were trying to make light of the situation. They were trying to joke with one another, but you could tell they didn't really know how to grasp the situation. But you knew in that moment that we were all in this together, man. It was odd for all of us. It wasn't just the fans at home. You know it was damn odd for the wrestlers in that ring. Damn odd for that commentator and Michael Cole and Triple H, of course. I mean, he created this Performance Center. This has got to be the oddest thing he's ever seen. And NXT was just there Wednesday, but at least there was an audience. I'm watching Alexa and Nikki taking on Sasha and Bayley, and I'm thinking, this is the fucking oddest shit I have ever seen in pro wrestling. And I remember that Owen Hart episode of Raw. I remember the Chris Benoit episode of Raw and SmackDown. I remember the post 9/11 SmackDown. I remember some crazy shows. This is the oddest show I've ever seen for professional wrestling on a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown. I've never seen anything like it. And again, when you know what's going on around the world and how we got to this point, it just, everything was just so odd, man. But they did their best, without question. Triple H, again, as I mentioned a couple of times, he was on commentary with Cole. It was a very real, very raw Triple H and Michael Cole, as they were very forthright with how out of a situation it was. They were even, again, as I said, making fun of themselves and even Mr. McMahon. There was a couple of times where Triple H, he was really poking at Michael Cole. He even tried to draw in on his little goatee. He tried to draw on it because there were some grays on there. He tried to he tried to be the cameraman. Remember The Rock did that years and years ago? The Rock grabbed the camera and he tried to fucking, yeah. Triple H tried to do that. I thought that was hilarious. They really tried to entertain you every which way. Whether it landed or not is in the eye of the beholder. But at least they tried, man. They knew this was an awkward situation for everyone, and they tried their best. With some help from Asuka, of all people, because if you guys didn't know, the original match for Mania was supposed to be a triple threat for Asuka and Kairi's championships. It was supposed to also involve Natty Neidhart and Beth Phoenix, and Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. So Asuka was down there. She kind of cost Alexa and Nikki the match. Sasha Banks taps out Nikki Cross from the distraction from Asuka, so... Are they going to now add Bayley and Sasha into that triple threat tag match, and now it's going to be a Fatal 4 tag team match, even though Bayley already has a championship? That's possible. Because again, they were supposed to start the Nia Jax thing this week, but that got thrown to the wayside with all the changing in events. So maybe they're not even going to have Bayley defend her championship. Maybe they'll just be added to this weird multi-person tag team championship match at Mania. Hopefully you guys are keeping track, man. There's so much to go over, so much to think about, so much to readjust. You know, you kind of got to think 10 steps ahead of the company. I know I try to always do that anyway, but now more than ever. But Sasha Banks taps out Nikki Cross. Post-match, Sasha does the Hulk Hogan hand to the ear. Of course, there's no crowd in attendance, so again, that's a heelish thing that I feel heels need to do, you know, and anytime you can poke people's buttons. To the fans at home that would have loved to have been there, especially Detroit, and they're seeing you kind of mock that, they're pissed off. Get that heat. I like that a lot, man. And it's those little things sometimes, man. It doesn't have to be something grand. Roman Reigns is up next, and he had to have felt right at home because when his music hit, there was no reaction. So I'm sure he was okay with everything. Everything's normal. Dannon. Crickets. What? I'm joking. Relax. We're joking. We don't mind Joe, man. The Roman character I would have already turned heel years ago. The Roman character I would have readjusted 17 times by now. But we like Joe. Relax. It was a joke. Sort of. Sit down interview inside the ring. Cole was interviewing Roman Reigns. Cole asks Roman about those that don't want to see him in another WrestleMania main event winning another title. It didn't work the first 4 to 97 times. We don't need to see it again. That's why people like me are saying that. It's not that we don't like Joe. It's not that we don't want great things for Roman in the future. But we know that this doesn't work. We know that half the crowd, at least in attendance, or what was supposed to be in attendance, was not going to be on board. So if half your audience is not on board every year with the same decision, why not just try something different? That's all we're asking. But we're the idiots, right? We're the dipshits. We're the dummies. We're using logic and common sense. So Roman's answer to this, man, this is the most politically correct answer you could possibly give. I do more work than anyone here for this company, so why shouldn't I be in the main event going for the title? You do more work than anybody in the company. Please, if that's the case, The Miz would hold every championship in WWE right now. Every one. The dude is a walking billboard for WWE and does something for that company every hour of every day. That's The Miz. So by your standards, Roman, The Miz should have every championship and be in every main event because he does everything for that company. Please, dog. Big dog. Roman actually had the balls, the cojones, the how you doing to say, I do more than anyone here. Dude, that's a slap in the face to everyone in that locker room. Not everyone is just there to collect a paycheck. A lot of those individuals are trying their asses off to get that spot. Vince just won't move you over to put you in it. Even when he took you out of the title picture, we all saw what he was doing. You were still the main event. You were still the main segment every single week. The championship was an afterthought. You were the main topic. You were the main discussion because Vince made it that way. The fans didn't give a fuck if you were on there every week or not. It's just, you have to believe that these people are not that delusional, right? You have to believe that they know the deal. And everybody's talking about how this was a raw Roman interview. This was one of his best ever. Did you see how nervous he was in his voice? The dude hates being on that mic. He cannot stand promos. It may have been one of his better ones because he didn't have 10,000 people in the arena. But listen to his voice. He can't stand that shit. And you guys remember what John Cena told him in the ring. You guys remember when they were face to face, they were signing their contract for their big match? I think that was actually for WrestleMania. And you guys remember when Roman Reigns forgot his words that he was going to say? He literally forgot his promo. And he stopped. He didn't even try to go. He tried. He stood there and he tried to remember what he was supposed to say. Instead of what we call in the biz, improvising. Just come with something different. Come with whatever's at the top of your dome piece. You gotta think fast. Instead, he just froze. And he forgot what he was gonna say and he tried to remember it word for word. And John Cena said, it's called a promo, kid. You better learn how to do them if you're gonna be the big dog. And we were all like, whoa, like Cena totally broke down the fourth wall. But Cena was right. Vince is putting him on this face of the company type pedestal. All these championships and WrestleMania main events. The dude can't cut promos. And we're still in 2020. If you go online and you read anything about Roman's promos, even his diehard fans, the best they can say is, wow, he's getting better at his promos. The best they can say about Roman was, that wasn't bad. See, people say he can't cut promos. If we're saying this in 2020, all of these things, then maybe we were right all along. If he doesn't feel comfortable on the microphone, you probably can't be a top person in a wrestling company. Promos are a big part of it. You know it's bad when people are praising a mediocre promo. That was a mediocre. The dude took one or two questions from Michael Cole, and he talked about how he works harder than everyone else, and because of that, he deserves a championship match. Wow, I'm floored at this amazing promo everybody's talking about. Do you mean amazing for Roman standards? Maybe that's the case. And again, that's where the underlining issue has been laid down from the very beginning. He then talks about at the end of this thing about beating Goldberg at Mania because in his words, Goldberg is a part-timer and there's no room in the WWE for part-timers. Does this sound familiar? We're basically just redoing the entire Brock Lesnar-Roman feud from a couple years ago. What was it, last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was. That was the whole storyline was Roman calling Brock a part-timer and saying that that's over. They're doing the same thing in 2020. So anybody that gets angry about my words right now, about their precious Roman, I just got you right there, didn't I? I just made you think, damn, BC, even though I can't stand this sumbitch, he's right. That was the Brock Roman storyline. There's no room for part-timers, and I'm going to end the part-timers this year. And here we are in 2020, and it's the same story with Goldberg. You're a part-timer, and there's no room for you. So not only are we seeing the same situation where Roman's supposed to win the title at a WrestleMania main event, but we're seeing the exact same storyline even. Just insert a different player. And then you wonder why somebody like BC Amplified, who's been watching pro wrestling for decades, why I'm not going to buy into it. Why I do my reviews and my channel is based on logic, common sense, truth, and facts. I may upset a lot of people in the process, but I'll at least make you think and hopefully make most of you realize that what we are getting is below the standard, especially for WrestleMania. I'm going to beat Goldberg because he's a part-timer, and there's no room for part-timers, right? He's trying to get that sympathy over back to him. He's trying to make everyone really not like Goldberg because he's the part-timer, the evil part-timer. Same storyline with Brock Lesnar for years, really, but especially that Roman feud with Brock years ago. Here we are in 2020, and we're still doing it. Awesome! Can't wait! I see what Roman fans are saying now. This is the best decision! Back from commercial, Triple H is back on commentary. And again, I didn't even say this actually. This is what I mean about everything being called on the fly. After that Bayley, Sasha, Alexa, Nikki match, Triple H shook Cole's hand and said he's going to the back. Cole originally said he's going to have many guests throughout the night on commentary. Triple H said goodbye. When we came back from commercial after that Roman segment, Triple H was back. And he's like, I don't know what I'm doing there. He even alluded to the dirt sheets and how they said that he recently got demoted, at least in title. As far as, global talent relations. He took on a responsibility now that is much different. And the dirt sheets were calling it a demotion. He actually made reference to that. And he's basically like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Apparently I have plenty of time lately now because I've been demoted. Or he said something along those lines. I love that man. He was taking the dirt sheets and putting it right there on the air, and that's when you truly knew this was being called on the fly. Triple H said goodbye, then he's back. He's bringing up the dirt sheet stories. I loved it, man. It truly made it must. You didn't know where they were going to go next. So I truly like that. Unfortunately, where they went next was something that was just, I don't think this was needed. But again, because it was being called on the fly, because they didn't have every segment filled in yet, it was too last minute. They actually dedicated nearly a half an hour to the entire Elimination Chamber Smackdown Tag Championship match. Literally. I thought it was just going to be some highlights. They played the whole match. And it was nearly a half an hour in length. It ended hour number 1 and took us right into hour number 2. I didn't need to see that. And if that's the case, then why are people paying the $10 every month for? You know, if you're just going to play this shit on TV. But again, I think they felt they could not fill that void. So they played that match. I understand, I guess, man. After that match played, Miz and Morrison are in the ring at the Performance Center, cutting a promo, as if they're in front of 10,000 people. You expected some team to come out, maybe some interaction, maybe some physicality. Nothing. Just a promo, just to fill some time. Mojo Rawley is at the commentary table next, and he announces that Rob Gronkowski has signed with the WWE, and he'll be there live next Friday night. Well, if you watch this channel, spoiler, I already spoiled that days ago when I told you guys Gronkowski is coming to WWE. So, they're a couple days behind, but I think they knew that word got out. In fact, they even had to have their little, they have a little guy, Ryan something, who broke the news for them. But when I say broke the news, I was still 2 days before him. So anyway, I think people like me put it out there, and before you knew it, WWE had to just say, hey, yeah, this is the case. So they had Mojo do it. And I told you guys on Monday's review, I said when they gave the 24/7 title to Mojo, and Mojo made it sound like he was going to be something big in the company now and make the 24/7 title a little bit more relevant. And then 2 weeks later, he's dropping it to Riddick Moss, and then we don't even see Mojo again. And I told you guys I wouldn't doubt that they're trying to do something with Mojo and Gronkowski. Kind of like how Natty was to Ronda Rousey, kind of show her the ropes. Be out there with Ronda Natty every week just in case something goes awry, something goes off the tracks. I think just in case Gronkowski is fucking something up or not doing something correctly, they want Mojo out there to kind of hold his hand for the next several weeks. So I get it. And again, he announces that Gronkowski has officially signed with SmackDown. Well, yay! We can sleep better now, knowing that Gronkowski is in WWE with Cain Velasquez. And, who's that? Tyson Fury? Who else, man? Vince just likes to grab people from other sports and put them in his company because they have name recognition in other sports. And then it comes to his own talent, his own wrestlers, and he treats them like shit and puts them into irrelevancy and obscurity. Mind-boggling to me. Nobody needs to see Tyson Fury or Cain Velasquez or Rob Gronkowski in the middle of a WWE ring. Just do something correctly with Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black. Do something correctly with Shinsuke Nakamura and Asuka and such. Thanks! Sincerely, your WWE audience. Daniel Bryan with Gulak in his corner versus Cesaro. Shinsuke is in his corner. Sami Zayn is on commentary. Bryan beats Cesaro. Post-match, everyone starts brawling one another. Maybe, and I mean maybe, this would have went off better in front of a live crowd. But in front of nobody, it was just awkward, cringeworthy, and pretty silly. Triple H is restless as fuck at the entire show by this point. So he's controlling the camera, as I aforementioned. And I thought, again, it was just hysterical. He's zooming in on Michael Cole. Cole probably doesn't even realize it. There's a camera behind Cole. Cole's alluding to the fact that he has a bald spot. Please don't get the bald spot, he says. The show is going off the tracks, and I'm loving it, man. They're letting their guard down. They're just being stupid. They have nothing filled in. They're calling it on the fly. They're trying to have fun. I really enjoyed that. It was entertaining for sure. But you had to feel for these dudes too, though, because they had no idea how to get through this weird situation. It was funny, it was entertaining in a way, but in another sense, you felt bad. You know, they were just trying to get through this, like we all were. Jeff Hardy returned to WWE. He takes on Baron Corbin. Elias is on commentary. This was a quick 3-minute match. Elias plays his guitar, slight distraction. Hardy hits the twist of Fury, they're calling it now, not Twist of Fate. Maybe because they know Matt Hardy's going to use that in the future. Maybe they don't have a copyright. I don't know. Trademark. But it's the Twist of Fury. And then a Swanton, and Jeff Hardy defeats Baron Corbin. Okay. I don't even think Elias's guitar was even a distraction. When they showed Corbin, he wasn't even looking at Elias. He was already in the midst of the Twist of Fury. I don't know. Again, the matches were the oddest part of the night. I was enjoying Cole and Triple H more than anything, to be honest. And then what was to come? The actual main event spot was John Cena's promo. And it was a damn good promo. I always said that John Cena, when he cuts the comedy and he's serious, John Cena's one of the best promos in pro wrestling. I don't necessarily like his comedy, his battle raps. They're funny, they're entertaining, I get it. But when he's serious, that's some of the best promos you're going to find in the business. And he cut another good one last night. Wyatt was he was the only one in the crowd at the Performance Center, and he was laughing. And he jumps the barricade and he gets in the ring. And Wyatt hit Cena with an awesome promo himself. So he combated Cena's awesome promo with one of his own. And I love this, man, just seeing them face to face. And John Cena said, or he alluded to the fact that he thinks that Bray Wyatt is overhyped and he's going to put an end to him like he should have done 6 years ago. And Bray Wyatt, when he got into the ring, he looked right at Cena and he said at WrestleMania, it's going to be a slaughter. You just don't know it yet. And the way he said it with the laughter afterwards, man, with no crowd in attendance, it added to that mystique. A certain level of eeriness was there. I like that, man. I think that went off better with no crowd. And it ends with the Fiend visuals. But I really enjoyed that, man. At first I was like, man, it would have been so cool if the Fiend attacked Cena in an empty Performance Center. You saw what Gargano and Ciampa did Wednesday night on NXT? Battling all around the... Could you imagine if The Fiend was doing that to Cena? But they decided no physicality. But it looks like for the foreseeable future, these shows are going to emanate from SmackDown... Or I'm sorry, from the Performance Center, SmackDown and Raw. Because Raw Monday is also going to be at the Performance Center. But it looks like that's how it's going to be for weeks to come. So maybe in the upcoming weeks, leading into WrestleMania, wherever that's going to be, whenever WrestleMania is going to be, maybe they'll have The Fiend just taking out Cena all over an empty Performance Center. That visual would be damn cool as well. But I love that promo, man. So aside from just... we didn't know what was going to happen, so that was must-see TV. The interaction between Cole and Triple H. But that promo as well is something I'm actually going to remember. So I can't really rate or judge this show as I usually would. Everybody was calling it on the fly. The fact that they even put on a show tells you something. And they at least tried to entertain, man. I know some people may have been expecting more, but when I say this was on the fly, when I say this was last minute, the old man was so stubborn that just 48 hours beforehand, he said he denied the rumors that they were going to be at the Performance Center because that was just their contingency plan. Vince still wanted, 48 hours before SmackDown hit the air, they still wanted to try to go to Detroit and pull the show off. That's how last minute this was, man. And because of the outbreak, they couldn't have a crowd. They couldn't even have all of their production there. They couldn't have all of their wrestlers there. Because of the outbreak, there was only a certain amount of individuals that could be in the building. That's what people don't realize. When I say their hands were tied, they were tied. When I say they were calling this thing on the fly, they were calling this thing on the fly. But I didn't mind it, man. There was just a certain level of oddness to it. Awkwardness, weirdness, strangeness. One of my favorite shows in the world is a show called Stranger Things. That was one of those Stranger Things in this world, man. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime, guys. What's happening in the world and watching pro wrestling, more specifically WWE, for decades, I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. I wish all of you the best, man. Hopefully your loved ones are making the right decisions and being cool, being all good. And I hope that for the future, man, for all of us, man. No time to panic. Everybody, remember, take this serious, but don't panic. Just do what you've always done. Use caution. Be smart. You know? If you do that, you're just aware of your surroundings. We'll be good. Panicking is not going to help you or anyone. Running out to your local Target and buying all of the toilet paper and sanitizers and medical masks are not going to help anyone. In fact, you're probably going to hurt somebody that actually could use those things. The elderly, for instance. Don't panic. You know, we saw Sami Callihan totally flip out. You know, we don't need wrestlers doing it for sure, but you guys, man, my audience, pro wrestling audience in general, the world, don't panic. Just be smart. Take it seriously. But don't start flipping out, all right? When you start flipping out and the world just starts to be in a panic, that's when shit goes really off the rails. For now, until I talk to you guys next, think, be, live, amplify.